Whether you work from home, own a business, are a student, or just use your computer or laptop for leisure, I'm sure you're going to find some very helpful tips and tricks on how to organize everything in your computer, from your files to your folders to your desktop to your workflow and more. And real quick, if you haven't joined my digital organizing challenge yet, you can actually grab it from my freebie library in the description box below. We overhauled our emails in the first week to get our inboxes down to a 0 inbox. And this week we are organizing our computers, and everything outlined in this video will be in an easy to reference calendar and guide, which is included in my digital organizing challenge. And in the following weeks, we are covering organizing our phones, pictures, and videos. Starting with our files, we'll go over 2 categories here, one being all of our paperwork and the other being any documents that you need to keep readily available. For all of your paperwork, I actually have videos and blog posts, but most importantly, a free paperwork organizing challenge, which you can access from my freebie library below, which shows you how to overhaul your paperwork in 4 weeks, whether you keep a physical filing system or a digital filing system. And at the end of the challenge, I actually show you how to create a digital filing system. And no, you don't need to purchase any fancy digital filing system devices. It's actually a lot easier than you think to actually create a digital filing system yourself. So the link to that challenge will be below. And for the files that you need to keep readily available on your computer, there are actually very few. You will just need to keep any ongoing claims easily accessible and any income and tax documents, as throughout the year you will probably need to access them frequently for multiple purposes, so it's a good idea to have these readily available on your computer for easy access. And if you are regularly out and about and don't always have your laptop with you, you will want to keep these files readily available in an internet drive, like a Google Drive, OneDrive, or the cloud. So what I do is I have these all saved in a documents folder in my computer. I also have an additional folder for financial aid, as my daughter is currently in college. For the folders you need to keep in your computer, we already touched on the documents folder, and the other 3 are what are already typically automatically included in your laptop or computer, which are downloads, pictures, and videos. One very important thing to note about these folders is that these should be considered temporary storage, and here is why. For your documents folder, these will include only open claims and your tax documents for the most current 3 years. You will move closed claims and any older tax documents to somewhere else, which I will go over in the maintenance section of this video. For your downloads folder, you will actually empty this folder daily, which I will go over in more detail in the workflow section of this video. For your pictures and videos folders, you will actually use these to temporarily hold pictures that you are currently editing or creating content from or printing, and then I will go over in more detail where you will move these photos in another video. The goal here is to keep as few files as possible on your computer to optimize the performance of your computer. Remember, computers and laptops die and accidents do happen. I actually spilled water on my computer not that long ago, and thus the creation of this video, it made me realize what I needed to keep on my computer and what I needed to keep safe externally. Now let's get into organizing your desktop. Before I get into the folders that I save on my desktop, let me know if you want me to show you how I created this wallpaper. It lists my goals for this year and the next 5 years. Since it's important to keep our goals in front of us, I thought my desktop was the perfect place to save it, and I think a lot of you might think so too. So let me know if you want me to show you how I create this. For the most part, you want to keep your desktop as clutter-free as possible, as a visually cluttered desktop will probably give you a cluttered mind. For how I organize my desktop, I have 3 folders for the different aspects of my life, including my accounting work, my business, and my planning resources. These folders basically contain reference materials that I use frequently. So what I like to do to keep my desktop organized is I like to keep these 3 folders along with my recycle bin at the bottom right of my desktop, because as you save files that you might need temporarily on your desktop, they always automatically upload to the top left of your desktop. So when you do need to delete these files, they won't be mixed into your permanent files. And as you delete your temporary files from your computer, you won't accidentally drag your permanent files to the recycle bin. Now that we've gone over simple ways to organize your desktop, here's a fun little tip to customize the icons on your desktop. I love the look of these little bankers boxes, but there are other cute options to choose from as well. Typically, your computer will create a manila folder when you add a new folder, but what you can do is you can right-click on it and choose Properties, and then select Customize, and then choose Icon, and you can choose from any of these cute little options here. Now let's get into some of my favorite tips on how to streamline your workflow. For my accounting work, I have to keep a lot of tabs open. I was asked if I wanted to use an external monitor to make it easier to see all of the tabs that I must have open, but I did not want to use an external monitor because space-wise it just never worked because I live in small places. And I figure a lot of people just have laptops to use, and so you want to be able to maximize your workflow on the one screen, and you don't always have a desk where you work from, and you might be mobile with your work as well. So how I keep my workflow organized on a single screen is that I use these very simple tricks. To start, I always open my internet tabs in the same order. I manage 4 emails, and I open each specific email in a specific order. So those are the first 4 tabs. The next tab is my accounting system, followed by the rest of the things I access frequently, and all of these are bookmarked for easy access. And because I always have these tabs opened in the same order, I don't get mixed up with my emails. I know exactly which email I'm sending and receiving from, and then I'm not constantly looking for where the tab I need is, because it's always in the same place in the order that I always open it. So this saves lots of time and lots of stress. And when I have to open multiple files, I do the same thing, where I have all the Excel files open and they're open in the same order, and then my PDFs opened in the same order, in order by type of report or type of PDF. So it's going to be whatever works for you and makes sense for you. Now, to maintain everything on my computer, from my files and my folders to my desktop, here is what I do. For my files, which include documents, downloads, pictures, and videos, starting with documents, I moved closed claims and older tax files to an external hard drive. I go over in detail how long you must keep these files in my paperwork organizing challenge, so be sure to download that if you haven't already. For downloads, I delete all my downloads once per day from my computer, and then immediately afterward, I empty my recycle bin. So doing these 2 things will especially free up space on your computer, especially if you do them daily. For pictures and videos, I go over how to do that in detail in another video. To keep my desktop organized, I delete files saved there throughout the day. Once I've emailed a file that is saved there, I delete it from my desktop because I don't need it anymore. And as we went over in my previous video on how to organize your email, I have a tip there on how your email becomes its own search engine. So that's why once you've already emailed a document, you don't really need to keep it anymore. And as I already said, at the end of the day, I delete my downloads. And because I've already deleted everything from my desktop throughout the day, because I already said that I empty my recycle bin after I delete the downloads, then everything that was saved to my desktop is also deleted from my computer, freeing up space again. And then once per week, for any of the reference materials you have in the folders on your desktop, you will want to save them to a drive, whether it's an internet drive or an external drive, because remember, you never know what could happen to your computer. Accidents happen, so you just want to make sure you have these materials easy to reference and accessible elsewhere to keep them safe. So until you get into the habit of doing this, you might want to set up a calendar reminder to do this at least once per week. Now let's get into some bonus tips. So with all of the tips I just shared previously in this video, this helps to minimize everything you have saved on your computer, which will help keep your memory space very low. So here are some additional tips to keep your computer running optimally. At least once per week, you will want to clear your cookies and cached items, as these items can sometimes cause issues with the performance of some websites. So you'll want to go to your history, then go to clear browsing data, and then go to the advanced tab, and then select the cookies and also cached images and files, and select clear data. Then you will also want to check your computer health, and I do this very simply. I just go to the apps in my computer and search at the top computer health, and it literally shows you there what you need to do to fix your computer's health. It's that simple. So don't forget, everything that is outlined here is included in an easy to reference calendar and guide in my digital organizing challenge in my freebie library, which is linked below. So stay tuned for my next video where I show you how to organize everything in your phone, from your apps to your screensaver to your wallpaper to your memory and storage and more. Happy organizing!